1. Walls and longhouse construction. The longhouses of Native Americans were not merely shelters. They stood as evidence of survival wisdom in harsh conditions. During winter, when temperatures could drop to deadly levels, the thick bark walls became a crucial shield that sustained life. To modern eyes, this design may appear primitive, but in truth it was a carefully engineered insulation system. Bark was layered, one over another, creating pockets of trapped air. These air gaps worked like the double panes of a modern insulated window. Air does not transfer heat well, so warmth from fire and human bodies inside was preserved, while the bitter cold outside had difficulty seeping in. The choice of bark types was not random. Cedar bark, for example, was highly resistant to moisture, preventing dampness from weakening insulation. Birch bark, flexible and resistant to cracking during sudden temperature changes, helped maintain a tight seal throughout the winter. Inside, woven mats were hung along the inner walls. Far from being decorative, these mats formed an additional thermal barrier. When placed against bark walls, they trapped another layer of air, increasing insulation much like wearing multiple sweaters. Entire longhouses functioned as giant coats, layer upon layer of protection that made it difficult for warmth to escape. In many cases, inner bark panels could be adjusted seasonally. During winter, families added extra layers to increase insulation. In summer, they removed layers to allow airflow. This flexibility made longhouses adaptable year-round, balancing warmth and ventilation as needed. The roof also played a crucial role. It was not just a shield against snow but a component of the heating system. Roofs were angled to release smoke while minimizing heat loss. Rising smoke created a layer of hot air beneath the roof that acted as insulation, slowing down the escape of warmth. In winter, snow itself became an unexpected ally. A thick layer on the roof added thermal mass, further stabilizing interior temperatures. With bark walls, woven mats, and strategically designed roofs, the entire longhouse became a giant thermal battery, absorbing heat during the day and releasing it slowly through the night. Thanks to the sophisticated use of natural materials, longhouses were not simply shelters but finely tuned heating systems. They represented the ingenuity of Native Americans, who without modern science understood principles of thermal mass, insulation, and air layering. These structures kept families alive in conditions that could easily kill the unprepared. More than places to live, longhouses were monuments to human adaptability and deep ecological wisdom. 2. Fire and heating systems. In Native American longhouses, fire was far more than light or a cooking tool. It was the heart of survival in winter. Without it, the freezing cold could claim lives within hours. Native peoples recognized that fire offered warmth but also carried deadly risks, such as smoke suffocation or uncontrolled flames. Over generations, they perfected a fire management system that worked like an ancient central heating system, reliable and efficient. Fire pits were not placed randomly but in central positions, ensuring even heat distribution throughout the house. From these hearths, warmth radiated outward, reaching families in every section of the longhouse. This strategic placement also reduced the risk of accidental fires in the highly flammable environment of bark walls and mats. Yet, the greatest challenge was not making fire but managing smoke. Poorly vented fires could suffocate entire families. To solve this, roofs were designed with smoke holes positioned where winds could draw fumes upward. These openings were carefully sized, not too large to waste precious heat, but not too small to trap dangerous smoke. Families could even adjust them according to wind direction and weather. An ancient form of climate control. One of the most remarkable techniques was fire banking. Instead of letting flames roar all night, families covered glowing embers with a layer of ash. This restricted oxygen just enough to keep the coals smoldering without extinguishing them. The result was steady heat that lasted through the night, like a primitive thermostat set to low and slow. At dawn, the coals could easily be rekindled into flames. This technique saved fuel, minimized smoke, and removed the danger of waking in the middle of the night to tend fires. knowledge of wood types also mattered. Hardwoods such as oak burned slowly, producing consistent, long-lasting heat, perfect for overnight warmth. Softwoods, by contrast, caught quickly but burned out fast, ideal for immediate heating needs. By combining different woods, native firekeepers could fine-tune warmth like adjusting dials on a modern furnace. Instead of one massive fire, some communities relied on several smaller ones, strategically placed for balanced heat. This reduced hotspots, distributed warmth evenly, and created backup sources in case one fire died. Fire, therefore, was not only physical heat but the spiritual and functional heart of the longhouse. Through clever placement, careful smoke control, ash banking, and knowledge of wood, Native Americans created a fire system that kept families alive night after night in sub-zero cold. It was the beating heart of the home, a heart that required constant skill and respect to keep alive. 3. Stones and earth as thermal storage. Beyond central fires, Native Americans discovered ingenious ways to store heat using stones and earth as natural batteries. Large stones were heated directly in fire pits, then carried to sleeping areas where they radiated warmth for hours. These primitive hot water bottles required no fuel, made no smoke, and provided localized comfort throughout the night. Choosing the right stones was critical. Hard, durable rocks like granite or sandstone absorbed and released heat evenly. Softer stones such as limestone were avoided, as they could shatter violently when overheated, posing a deadly hazard. Families quickly learned to match stone size with need. Large stones for steady, all-night heat, smaller stones for quick bursts of warmth. Earth itself became another form of heating technology. The dense clay and packed earth floors of longhouses absorbed heat during the day from central fires and foot traffic. At night, they released this stored energy slowly, functioning much like underfloor heating systems in modern architecture. Some families even dug pits lined with stone or clay and filled them with sand heated during the day. These mini heating stations were placed near beds, providing focused warmth exactly where it was needed. Heated sand offered unique advantages. It held heat for long periods, was safe to touch, and could be shaped to fit around feet, backs, or whole bodies. Unlike rigid stones, sand conformed to the human form, creating custom-fit heating pads. In effect, native families had invented portable, renewable heating systems centuries before electricity. By turning fires, stones, and earth into a cycle of energy storage and release, Native Americans ensured steady warmth even when flames had died. This approach not only saved fuel but also made long winter nights safer and more bearable. It proved that survival was not just about having fire but about managing and conserving heat wisely. 4. Beds, blankets, and insulation layers. If walls and roofs were giant coats wrapping entire families, beds and blankets were the intimate defenses protecting individuals from the deadly cold. Native Americans knew the ground itself was one of the greatest thieves of body heat. To fight this, the first layer of bedding always consisted of insulating mats, woven cattail reeds, dried grasses, or bulrushes. These mats elevated sleepers above the frozen ground, blocking direct heat transfer into the earth. Above this came the middle insulation layer, usually thick bundles of dried grasses or reeds. These created countless tiny air pockets, functioning much like the down in modern sleeping bags. Air trapped within slowed heat loss, forming a warm cushion around the sleeper. The topmost layer was animal hides and furs, the crown jewel of native bedding systems. Buffalo hides, bear skins, or deer pelts offered extraordinary insulation, retaining warmth even in sub-zero temperatures. More importantly, hides were moisture-resistant. Damp bedding loses all insulating power, but animal skins preserved warmth while shielding the underlying layers from condensation and humidity. This system was modular and adaptable. More layers could be added in extreme weather or removed when milder nights arrived. In this sense, beds were not static but flexible tools of survival. The principle mirrored modern cold weather gear: multiple layers, moisture management, and adaptable comfort. Materials were also sustainable. Plants like cattails and reeds grew abundantly, making them easy to harvest and replace. Animal hides, gained from hunting, served multiple purposes: food, clothing, and bedding, ensuring nothing was wasted. The bedding system thus formed part of a self-sufficient cycle of resource use, tightly woven with the rhythms of daily life. Far from being primitive, these bedding systems reflected centuries of refinement and experimentation. They embodied the hard-won knowledge that a good night's sleep was not just rest but survival itself. A carefully layered bed could mean the difference between waking alive or never waking at all. In this way, Native Americans turned their sleeping places into fortresses of warmth and safety, restoring bodies for the challenges of each new day. 5. Winter clothing systems. When the world outside turned to ice, clothing became a portable survival system. Native Americans designed layered garments that mirrored the principles of modern cold weather gear. The innermost layers were soft and comfortable against the skin, wicking away sweat to prevent dangerous evaporative cooling. Middle layers added insulation, while outer garments, always fur and hide, locked in heat and shielded against wind. The most iconic piece was the buffalo coat. Thick and heavy, it acted like a walking sauna, trapping so much warm air that its wearer could withstand blizzards with ease. Other hides, deer, wolf, bear, were fashioned into cloaks and coats, balancing warmth with freedom of movement. Clothing had to insulate, yes, but it also had to allow hunting, walking, and working without restriction. Extremities received special attention. Hands, feet, and heads lose heat fastest and are most vulnerable to frostbite. Fur-lined boots, mittens, and hoods protected these critical areas with the warmest furs available. Moccasins lined with fur not only trapped warmth but also repelled moisture, keeping feet dry during long journeys over snow. Flexibility was the secret strength of this clothing system. Layers could be added or removed as activity levels and weather shifted. A hunter could strip down to lighter garments during exertion to avoid sweating, then bundle up again when resting or exposed to strong winds. In this way, native clothing became a mobile climate control system, balancing warmth and comfort in real time. Through ingenuity and resourcefulness, Native Americans created clothing that not only kept them alive but also allowed them to thrive in brutal winters. These garments were not just protection but living technology, tailored by necessity and perfected through generations. 6. Sleeping together, the power of collective warmth. Even with insulated walls, layered bedding, and fur-lined clothing, one truth remained. A single body could not easily withstand the coldest winter nights alone. Native Americans responded with a simple yet brilliant solution: sleeping together in groups to pool body heat. This was not just companionship. It was a calculated survival strategy. Children, the most vulnerable to hypothermia, were placed at the center of family clusters. Adults surrounded them, radiating warmth inward while shielding them from cold drafts. The arrangement was deliberate. Strong adults on the outer ring, weaker or elderly members closer to the middle. Families became living furnaces, carefully arranged for maximum heat efficiency. Animals, particularly dogs, were often included in these arrangements. With their naturally higher body temperatures and thick coats, dogs acted as living blankets, adding warmth while also serving as guardians. They were both protectors and heaters, essential members of the winter survival team. Sleeping arrangements were not static. Families shifted positions as needed through the night, ensuring no one grew dangerously cold. Shared breathing added to the microclimate, raising ambient temperatures in enclosed spaces. The synchronized exhalations of a sleeping group could noticeably warm the air, a natural ventilation heating effect. The psychological benefits were just as important. In the warmth of the group, children felt safe, adults felt supported, and fear of the deadly night cold was eased. Survival was no longer a solitary burden but a shared effort. This strengthened family bonds and reinforced the social fabric of the community. In essence, the group sleeping system transformed families into human heating networks, each person both giving and receiving warmth. It was survival by unity, a perfect example of how cooperation outshines individual effort in extreme environments. Thanks to this strategy, Native Americans endured winters that might otherwise have claimed countless lives, proving that human connection itself can be the most powerful tool of survival.